Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to talk to you about desire. So we're going to talk about this as a multi-layered understanding. We're talking about the psychology of desire, what's happening with the neuroscience of desire, what Neville says about desire, and how do we use all this knowledge to manifest and create the life of our dreams. So, okay, let's talk about culture. Cultural understandings of desire. When I say culture, I'm not talking about your own personal, religious, or experiential culture. I'm just talking about culture at large, which is really just the basic definition is a collection of beliefs about how to act and be and interact and what things to value and not value, right? So that's culture. So there is a culture, though, around desire. How do we define desire? What is desire? Well, check this out. When you were little, what would you say? What kind of things would you say about when you were older? When I grow up, I want to. When I am this age, I can. When I am 18, I'm an adult. Do you hear how we have learned to normalize how to discuss what it means to desire something? Now, first things first, desire and wanting are not the same. I'm going to tell you why in a second. But let's go back to childhood. Because in childhood is where we get what are called our mental schemas, which means our maps of the world, how to assimilate, how to appropriate, how to be, how to experience in the world, okay? So Neville has a very different take on desire than our culture, because our culture is predicated on or relies upon this idea that we don't have. So desire from childhood is desire, you want something, you don't have it. Right? So then we create systems and even bureaucracy and political systems all the way up from the bottom up. We've created reasons and ideas of why you need to do certain actions in the world to then become the desire. Do you hear this? Right? So for example, if you want to drive, you can't just drive. You need to go through training and so on. Now, I'm not advocating 4-year-olds going and driving. That would be hilarious and dangerous. But what I am saying is that we've created rules and acceptable ideas that relate to other acceptable ideas. Are you hearing it? We create a chain of beliefs that defend the original belief of, well, really when you desire something, you can't just have it. You have to earn it, right? So then you're like, well, I want to become an engineer. Yeah, but then you have to go to school for 4 to 6 years, right? So desire is always about earning. Desire is always about not having and then also earning. So do you hear that? That's a 2-step process that our culture has taught us from our childhood and possibly your parents, possibly your church groups, possibly your social groups, whatever it is. That so far what we have is this concept that desire is something that you don't and pretty much can't have unless you earn it, right? You need to provide some way, shape, or form of getting through a rite of passage to where you can actually feel like you can want what you desire. So a lot of people give up on their desires because they look at these processes and some of them are extremely unrealistic. Some of them are heavily time consumed and so on and so forth. Okay. So that's cultural definition and understanding of desire. Okay. But then you also have desire and wanting, okay? So desire and wanting, especially in the world of manifestation, are actually at odds with one another. Now, that doesn't mean you can't want something, okay? But are you wanting it because you don't have it, or are you enjoying the wanting because you know it's going to come? Do you hear the difference between that? Now, if you followed me here when I talk about even generally manifesting, I really am inspired by the work of Neville Goddard. So again, the reason why I say that is because to fully understand what I'm really trying to get to you about desiring and wanting is that desiring is the language of God according to Neville, right? That's God speaking to you through the nature of desire. Okay. So if you want to be rich, you don't sit there and feel guilty about it or shameful or that you're going to end up becoming arrogant. That's not a rule, right? There isn't a rule that says you have to become rich and arrogant. You can become rich and giving, right? There isn't a rule that says I have to go to 10 doctors before I can feel well. These are all solidified beliefs that we think are the only options because we've created a culture that we all agree to. In philosophy, that's called intersubjectivity. I know, it sounds pretty cool. You can use that at a party to sound smart. So all it means is that there are ideas that we've agreed upon. There are ideas that we've all walked into and said, that makes sense, so I'm going to go ahead and just follow my life according to that agreement. Now, Neville also says that desire and manifesting your desire is about you being in agreement, right, with your future self now, okay? So what that means is you have to have a vision. So desire should lead to vision. Desire should not lead to depression, right? That's what our culture pretty much does. It says, okay, listen, you want this? Go do this. And then if you do that, you're going to want more. So just keep on wanting more and more and more. And that's the model of consumerism that we have today, especially in the West, right? So the reason why this is important to understand is because if you're wanting, you're simply just speaking the language of the culture. If you're desiring, you're speaking the language of God. Do you hear the difference? Because desiring means there is a deep-seated sense of purpose that I get from this, right? And desires can be fulfilled. That is very, very important to hear, because Neville argues that if you have a desire, the desire comes with a solution. So all this scrambling and all this energy and all this angst and anxiety that we're having is actually unnecessary, because we're not taking the time to just sit and rest and actually see that every single desire is, one, divine in nature, two, that it actually comes with its own fulfillment. Okay? It's like the seed of a plant. When you look at the seed, you don't see the flower just yet, right? But you know that when you put the seed into the ground and you water it and care for it, this is your mind, right? That you will end up sprouting a flower of some sort, whatever the seed is, right? And again, so like only begets like, okay? If you are in a mindset where you're not controlling your thoughts or emotions and you're not guiding them towards the end, then you will produce the like, the same, okay? And you obviously don't want to do that. So again, you are the arbiter. You are the operant power. You are the one who gets to control how you experience life. You do. Nobody else does, right? And if you believe that they do, then you've given your power away, okay? So again, the same with the desire versus wanting. If you want, that means you're in a state of lack. I don't have. This is the power of Neville Goddard's work versus typical manifestation, because you're going in and you're visualizing from the first person, doing one action on repeat, saturating yourself in the emotions and feelings of the wish fulfilled. And that is you giving yourself the desire. You literally enter into a different dimension where this version of you is that person who's healthy, is that person who's wealthy, is that person who's successful, is that person who is in love. Whatever it is that you desire, there are dimensional versions of you that exist in the multiverse where you are living out that life, okay? This is not just some theory from quantum, mechanics, which I will go into in the future. But there are multi versions of you. And the way in which you tap into it is to differentiate between, am I desiring or am I wanting? Because in this world, the mental world, where I'm creating and seeing from the first person, that's happening. That's happening now. And so you've given yourself that desire. So you walk away with a confidence knowing that maybe there's some sort of time gap involved in this, right? Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes you can end up getting so saturated in your subconscious, like Neville would say, that he would literally get a phone call and then he would have actually manifested it within seconds of actually waking up from this actual dream that he created, right? So keep in mind, desire is desire from the divine. Wanting is a state of lack, right? Now, if you start out with wanting, okay, because most of us actually do start from that level, right? Of, well, I start with wanting. That's fine. Everyone wants something. You need to shift from wanting to desiring to having. That's basically the kind of 3-step process. I want a bigger house. Great. Nothing wrong with wanting. But then you shift automatically from that to assuming you already have the house. Okay, so in one sense, you can actually even skip the desiring process by giving it to yourself. But if you want to process, there it is. It's the wanting, and then you create the scene where you no longer desire. You remove the wanting and the desiring element. Okay, this is why sometimes in Buddhist religions, they say desiring causes suffering. Why? Because desiring and wanting really ultimately are actually a form of illusion. And the more that you desire and want, the more that you don't have, the more that you lack, the more that it causes suffering because you don't have it. So then that's causing whatever emotions that you could be giving to yourself in the imaginary scene, but you're not, so then you're experiencing all of that lack. You're experiencing that lovelessness. You're experiencing all the anger. You're experiencing all whatever the emotions are that you don't want to be feeling right now. So again, skip the desiring, skip the wanting, right? And even though I just focused on the difference between the two, really ultimately what you want to realize is that you want to get so good that you can go from, okay, I just had a thought about having a bigger island to, knowing that I have it, right? So you skip the wanting, desiring, having, and just go from I want to I have, right? That's really ultimately how you can really get good at this. And then you begin embodying that every single day. You embody it first within, and then you embody it without. Always first within. There's never not a time that you don't want to first go within, because Neville says if you do, then you're going to fight against the nature of things, okay? And you don't want to do that. And I'm going to tear that apart as well in a future video. So hopefully this was helpful. Let me recap really quick, and I'm going to start doing these recaps as well. Is that wanting is an illusion. Desiring is equally an illusion, but the difference is that wanting is from a huge state of lack. Desiring is realizing, oh, there's actually something deeper here going on. There's something valuable happening within me that I could actually not just have this thing, but I become what I have, right? And so then that leads to the having, and that leads to the imaginary scene and the processes that actually are involved in that, right? Which is saturating the subconscious and so on with the emotions of the visual field. So hopefully this was helpful. Share this with at least one person, and share some insights that you got from this video and how you're going to apply it. So if you're looking for coaching, get in touch. Thank you for all of your support, and I hope to see you soon. Be safe.